All right. Welcome to the Non-Stuffy Attorneys podcast. I'm Joe Gernasini from the Non-Stuffy Attorneys. And with me today is Alexis Austin Litle from 360 Strategic Success. So thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe. And yeah, sorry about the mouthful. I abbreviate it myself now to just 360 success.
Oh, is that right? 360
Yeah.
Success? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, like my last name, Gernasini, that's a mouthful.
Everyone
Um,
calls me little, so I feel you.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You know, how'd you get to where you are right now?
Well, I'm a recovering criminal defense attorney. I actually own a law firm in Colorado Springs. It's Wright Law Group. It's a criminal defense firm. And when I went through, I actually owned a firm before that. I left the prosecutor's office after practicing for a number of years and was offered a partnership at a legacy firm in Colorado Springs. And I had never owned a business before. I'd never been in business. And I jumped in and I started learning, oh, this is what I want to do. Being a lawyer, okay, that's fine, but running a law firm is my favorite thing. So I worked to build that business back up, sold it to a friend of mine from law school, and then opened Wright Law Group. And in doing all of the work and building the business in Wright Law Group, I realized that my favorite thing was building law firms, not necessarily going to court and running a docket. So I opened 360 Success in 2023 to help law firms grow and scale their businesses. And I was doing it and the law firm at the same time. And then in January of this year, I actually switched over where 95% of the time now, I'm helping lawyers build and grow and scale their businesses and actually run a law firm as a business, not as a law practice, while the law firm is running. And I think I spend about somewhere between 1 to 5 hours a week in the law firm now, and it's still running, generating seven figures, doing a great job for the clients, and it's great.
That's awesome. That's a criminal defense firm that you have.
It is, and we only do criminal defense. Some people thought it wasn't possible to only do criminal, but we rock it.
Nice, nice. So tell me about when you got into realizing that you wanted to grow the business as opposed to working it. How did that like come about? Because you were hired as an attorney, right?
So in my first firm, or when I opened my own law practice?
Well, I guess. Well, when were you like, okay, building a firm is more enjoyable to me than being an attorney? When did that happen?
Um, it was interesting because it happened about the time that the business was struggling so hard. So when I took over this legacy practice, the firm that I joined, I joined on with another man as a partner. I took over. I came in as a young upstart. My partner was significantly older than me, and I had all these ideas because I wanted to, you know, rebrand and do all these things. And the firm had been in existence for about 40 years. So it was in.
Was this your first job out of law school?
No, I was a prosecutor for many years after law school, but it was my first non-government job.
Okay.
So when I was a prosecutor, a local attorney in town, he had some health problems and he approached me and said, "Hey, I can't keep this up. I would love to sell my half of the practice to you." So I stepped in, left the DA's office and joined this criminal defense firm in town. And I had no idea what I was doing. I knew how to do legal work, and specifically, I knew criminal law. I'd never done defense work. I'd always been a prosecutor. But then I had this whole other world of business ownership. And it was interesting because the firm had been around for 40 years, but the partners, we got paid last. So what happened is we would do our marketing expenses, we would take care of our clients, we would take care of our staff. And at the end, whatever money was left over, we split, my partner and I. And I remember one month, I am not kidding you, one month I made $1,200. And I was like, this is insane. If we own a business, specifically a law firm, like you think of all those sitcoms and things about the high powered lawyer, business owner, like this is nuts. You can't live off of $1,200 a month. And that was actually the moment that I started loving business ownership because number one, I had to figure out how to make the business more profitable so that I could eat. And number two, I knew there was something wrong with this idea of paying yourself last, struggling to get by. And I didn't believe what everybody was saying in town, where they were saying, well, you have to do something in addition to criminal defense. You have to add something else on. I was thinking there has to be a way to make this work. So that's when I really started loving it. I figured out how to start running a business as opposed to just going to court and working the cases. And I started getting really creative and looking at other industries, because my opinion is historically the legal sphere has been about 20 years behind other service based industries. So I would look at how plumbers were marketing. I would look at how electricians were marketing, how psychologists and other people were marketing, and try to adopt those practices, at least the best practices that I could find, into my business. Now, the interesting thing was my partner, he had been in this firm for 20 something years already. And he very much believed, and I think that there is a way to do this correctly. So I'm not trying to denigrate what he was doing, but he believed that everyone in the law firm was a family. And if everyone's a family, you can't fire your family for underperforming. So we were kind of in this gridlock because we were 50-50, and he said, we don't mistreat our family. And I was like, well, I'm not trying to mistreat them, but they're underperforming and I can't demonstrate a good return on investment for this particular position. And I wanted to fire someone. He said, well, we don't fire family. And I said, well, I would love to run a business where we make money. So here's what I propose. Let me sell my half to someone who agrees with your philosophy. Totally fine, no judgment. But then I'm going to go do my own thing. And that's when I launched Wright Law Group and really started looking at, okay, how can I make this a business? And I didn't, because I'd been working when I was a prosecutor, I was making around 42,000 a year, working 80 hours a week, and I didn't want to live that life again. I was still living it at my other firm because we were making very little money. So my goal with Wright Law Group was, how can I make a law firm specifically for criminal defense clients that has exceptional client service but doesn't require me to be at the courthouse all day every day? That's where I really dove in and tried to figure out how to build systems, how to build structure, and how to focus on growing and scaling, as opposed to just pounding the pavement and sitting there with my little sign in court saying, "Hey, I'm a lawyer, hire me."
Right, right. So when you started Wright Law Group, was it just by yourself?
It was, and it was by myself with no cushion because I wasn't making a lot in my other firm. I had to take out a loan from a bank, and they would only give me $12,000 in a loan. So I had $12,000, no business degree. I have dual degrees in psychology and philosophy, and then a law degree, which we all know that doesn't teach you anything about running a business. And I launched, and I was trying to figure out. Oh, there, sorry.
There we
We
go.
cut out
Okay,
for a
so
second.
yeah, we froze up there a second. Yeah, so you were saying that you have dual degrees in, and then it cut out.
Oh, well, that's what happened. It didn't want me to tell that I had dual degrees in psychology and philosophy, which doesn't give you any idea of how to run a business. And
Right.
as we know, law school doesn't prepare you for how to run a business either. So I was trying to figure out how to run an efficient practice, make a good profit, and still serve my clients without just living at the office 24/7. And I bootstrapped it. I figured out how to. I was using a lot of remote help. I started looking into using virtual assistants. I got creative in how I brought on other attorneys. I didn't have any money to pay anybody, so I worked out creative solutions for contract attorneys coming in, and I really focused on maximizing the service I could provide clients with as little overhead as possible. And it was interesting because I launched in 2018. And then, as we all know, a year and a half later, everything crashed. But because I was trying to work from this perspective of how can I keep everything nimble, we were perfectly positioned during COVID, and we massively blew up because we were already doing everything by Zoom. We had voice over IP set up, everything was remote anyway. And so we went from, I think in 2019, the firm went from something like 118,000 a year to 700,000 in a year and a half. And then we just kept going from there. It was really nice.
That's amazing. Good job. Good job. What did you Okay, so starting out as a solo, what did you how did you grow it from the ground up? Like what were you focused on first?
So I think what's most important, and I think that we often miss this when we're looking at, well, I know how to practice law, so I should be able to do this. I focused on what I wanted. That was the main thing. What kind of lifestyle I wanted, what kind of feel I wanted for the firm. I focused less on, look at me, I'm such a good criminal lawyer, and more on how do I get what I want. And what I wanted was to not go to court and to never leave my house if I didn't have to. And now I'm proud to say I can sit in yoga pants all day long and just bring cash in, and it's great. So what I did was I tried to find other people who were like-minded, who were looking for flexibility, who were looking for freedom, and who had a passion for serving clients. So most people that I know, when they, especially criminal defense lawyers, they will go solo for a very long time and just grit their teeth, do all of the work, do all of their own filing. My philosophy is I know I'm not the best at things. I am not the best at filing things. It drives me crazy with e-filing, how you have to click certain buttons, and I just don't want to do it. And I focused on where's the highest and best use of my time? How can I focus on what I do really well? And how can I pay other people without a reserve of cash to do these other things? So I early on found an executive assistant in the Philippines. She and I still work together. She is phenomenal. She would do all of my discovery overnight because our time difference. So we literally started having a round the clock criminal defense firm because she would answer phones at night when clients called in, which is great for DUI clients. She would take the calls, she would get them scheduled with me in the morning. She would then do all of the discovery overnight, getting all of our reports and everything, and then I'd wake up the next morning, have a whole bunch of scheduled appointments, get everything rocking and rolling. And then I found people who wanted to learn criminal defense because I didn't have enough to offer a high-paying salary, but I found a person who had just graduated from law school who wanted to learn criminal defense but didn't want to go to the DA or public defender's office. And I said, look, I can't pay you anything unless you can make money, but I can teach you everything I know. And so I literally got a shadow, and she shadowed me around, and I would teach her what I knew. And then when she felt comfortable taking over cases, I would give her a cut of the case. And for a year, she followed me around. We worked out a schedule where I paid her. And as the money came in, she got paid. And we were able to make it so that I wasn't the only lawyer from the very beginning. And we focused on this idea of, again, building a business, not just a practice that's relying on the individual.
Yeah. What kind of a percentage were you paying her? Because I've kind of looked into it for our firm, and we haven't really done it. Uh, what is it, like 30% of the
So
case?
back then I was doing 30% because I would bring the client in and I would do all the marketing. And because I had systems set up and I already had support staff, it's very different, in my opinion, than saying, hey, lawyer, here's a full caseload. You have to do all of your own filings, all of your phone calls, everything, and you only get 30%. For me, I was paying 30%, but she didn't have to do any of her filings. She didn't have to bring the cases in. All she had to do was go to court. I will say now I have changed that model. Now my attorneys have a base salary because people want that security. The only people that I found that really are fine with that kind of unique structure are entrepreneurs. Funny enough, she went out and launched her own law firm later on because she was one of those people. But the majority of practitioners I found, and specifically for lawyers who want to just do the legal work, they prefer that salary model. So I do a salary and then a really generous bonus on top of that. But in the early years, it was all contract and it was 30%.
Yeah. 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 We did some of counsel stuff here and there. And yeah, it would be anywhere from 30 to 50%.
Would you increase for origination?
Well, we never got origination.
Okay.
Yeah, it was all we we market like crazy, so it's just the phones just ring off the hook for us. So yeah,
Well, and I
yeah,
think that's the way when you're building a business, I very much believe in silos. So when you're looking at it from a business perspective, the way I sell to current attorneys who want to join my firm is I say, look, if you love the law and you love serving clients, that's all you have to do. I don't want you doing anything and I don't expect you to do anything else. And it works for two reasons. Number one, they get to practice the law, they get to focus in, they get to make money. And number two, they don't have to deal with client payments. They never take payments. They never chase AR. And for me, I've siloed everything out where they don't know how to do the marketing, they don't know how to even collect payments or send retainers. So there's more insulation from, because I did have some experiences with people stealing all of my clients and leaving. I have now insulated it so that we have a system and a procedure in the firm that works outside of any attorney involvement. And I think that's a great way to do it, even with contractors, because you can offer them what they truly want, which is just a practice, and then you run everything. Because a lot of lawyers don't want to run everything. I don't know why. That doesn't make sense to me. I think it's best, but
Yeah, I mean that's how we run at Cause Law Office as well. Yeah, right from the beginning, we set it up like a business, and most attorneys what we found is they don't run their firm like a business. And I remember one woman joined our the Facebook group that we have, and she made a comment on some post. She had just joined like 5 days before, and she made a comment on some post like, "You're not running the law firm is not a business," and she called it something. And I replied to her. I was like, I disagree. It is a business. And her reply back was, "I'm not for this group. Please remove me from it." I was like,
hey,
"Okay."
self select out. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we've totally insulated. We have the production team, the legal assistants, attorneys, paralegals, they're in production, and then we have intake staff, we have sales. That's what they focus on. And then we have marketing. That's what they focus on. Finance. Everyone has their own hats, and that's what they do. Um, Without it, I don't see it's very difficult to grow. And I see a lot of attorneys really struggling to delegate, and turning these hats over to yeah, turning the hats over to people. And if you don't do that, there's only so many things you can do in a day.
I agree. And I think so. I say this to my clients, and I say this with love. I'm not trying to single you out, but I think attorneys have a little bit of a problem with arrogance. We think that we're smarter than everyone. We think that we know everything, and we think that because we have JD after our name, we can do anything. And sure, we a lot of us have some superpowers and we're really good at what we do, but it is the height of hubris to think that we know everything about every aspect of building a business. And from my perspective, and when I'm talking with my clients in their law firms, I ask them, why would you want to do something that you can only do 50 or 60% of the way? Why wouldn't you want someone who excels at that task, who loves that task, to do that thing? I see this a lot with bookkeeping and with accounting. Attorneys are trying to do their own finances. I'm like, why? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
if this holds true for you, but most lawyers I know, we just don't math. We're just not the best at mathing. So why would you force yourself to get in there and do work with the numbers when you could pay someone who truly loves to work with the numbers, give you beautiful reports, give you a really nice pulse on your firm, and all you have to do is check in and maintain. You don't have to do anything else. I think you're right though. I think that people, not only do they worry about handing over the hat, they worry about, well, where's the money going to come to actually pay that person? And again, I think if you're a billable attorney, if you look at it from that perspective, you can generate so much more money as a billable attorney by getting more hours back. For us, we're flat fee, and I look at, okay, how much more could I work on my business if I'm not working in the business doing these specific things? If you sit around on your butt and don't do anything, sure, it's not going to be worth it. But if you actually use that freed up time, you can grow exponentially.
Yeah, yeah. Funny enough, so my wife is the managing attorney here. I'm not an attorney myself. I have, marketing, sales, and business executive experience. But it must have been in probably 2022 where our daughter was doing gymnastics at a place that was like 30 minutes away. So it'd be an hour round trip drive. She's there for, 4 days a week for 5 hours at a time. So I'm driving her down, taking an hour out, driving, having to go back at night, pick her up another. So it's like two plus hours of driving, right? Just for my daughter's gymnastics. And then we got these two golden retrievers who need exercise or they go fucking nuts. So I'm having to take them out for, a walk during the day. Um, and then we eat very healthy, and so every day was like a struggle. Like my wife, I can go all day without eating. My wife, as soon as it's like 5 minutes past her hunger, she's a maniac. And so I'm like scrambling every day to get lunch and all that stuff. So we luckily found this personal assistant, and so she did everything. She drove our kid, she walked the dogs, she took care of the food, grocery shop, everything. And it had nothing to do with the law firm work, right? But it had everything to do with the law firm work because it freed up all these attention units that we had on other things. And coincidentally, our income skyrocketed. The business income just shot up from this assistant doing non-legal work for us. So
Yeah.
I think, really, really at that point, it became real apparent to us, like, okay, when we get other people to wear the different hats in the business, um, they make money for you by doing that.
And you're helping another person follow their dream. I don't know many people who, at least lawyers who own law firms, whose dream it is to walk a dog, but I do have a friend who has a professional dog walking business who loves it. And why wouldn't you want to build someone else up and also have yourself built up at the same time? It's a win-win for everyone.
Totally, totally, yeah. And it's something that we were actually talking about not long ago, was the impact that we've had on our employees. And yeah, like we're helping these guys do what they want. We're paying them very well. We pay a lot higher than market value. And we have a great work environment, right? We get lunch for them twice a week, and we have birthday parties. And we took them to Busch Gardens, a month ago. Took a day off and took everyone there. Um, yeah, so yeah, you have to really like look at, okay, the difference not only that you can make for yourself by hiring somebody, the profit that they'll generate, um, but yeah, what you're doing as a help flow to them as well. Like you literally have the chance to impact a lot of people's lives. Okay, we take one employee who's got a family of a couple kids and a husband or a wife, and now we've dramatically increased their standard of living, and it affects all of them. Yeah, it's a great feeling.
I agree. I heard something the other day. I was listening to a podcast and I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about this idea that people believe that time is money. And I think that that's been something that law firm owners, especially law firm owners who are reluctant to grow and scale, they think that's true. They think, well, if I can just do this myself, I
Yeah,
can save money. But the analogy that was given was, if you were told, I will give you $12 million today, but tomorrow you will die. You will have to die tomorrow to get $12 million today. Would you take that?
right.
No one would. I don't think. No one in their right mind would, because innately we automatically know that time is more valuable than money. And what I think that law firm owners don't understand or aren't logically thinking about, which is ironic because we're supposed to be logical thinkers, but we're not thinking, if I could free up this time, even if I can't immediately see it in my bank account, even if I'm paying someone else money and I get time, but I feel like that letting go of money thing, you're going to have infinitely more capacity to work on whatever it is that you want, or to just live your life. Because we do this whole thing where we've got uh, this hustle culture, the grind it out, all that jazz. But what's the point? Like, if you're going to just grind yourself into the ground, why? It's so much better to focus on living a good life, being there with your family, with your kids. I'd much rather only make 1 to 2 million and actually be with my children and raise a good family and have a nice life than 10 million and hate everything. you know,
Yeah, 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 definitely. Um, but I think you can have your cake and eat it too.
I
I think
agree.
you can make lots of money and still enjoy other aspects of life. And yeah, yeah,
I completely agree. I was using that analogy to show the fallacy in the
yeah,
logic that law firm owners have, but I'm living proof of that. I'm sitting in my home office, hanging out in my jammies, talking to you. It's a great life.
yeah. Where are you located?
I'm in Colorado Springs, but we have our law firm has offices all across the Front Range.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And thanks to technology, when I work with law firm owners, I can meet with anybody. I did want to ask you though, you mentioned earlier that you and your wife work together. My husband actually is the managing attorney of the law firm. How do you all balance the spouse relationship and the work relationship with all of the stressors that innately come in with running a practice at different times?
Um, I think being aligned in our goals and purposes, um, and having established core values that we agree on and that are communicated and known, um, amongst ourselves and our executives. So it's very, very rare for us to have big disagreements. Oftentimes, almost all the time, there's no disagreements. She has like the COO role of the business, so she's overseeing all the legal production and the quality control. Whereas my role has been administrative, HR and marketing, overseeing the sales, the finance, and then we all kind of meet. We recently hired a HR executive, and now we have a sales chief revenue officer now. So she's over all of that, all over the sales. But yeah, I think yeah, there was only one time right when we first started where I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out. And but ever since then, yeah, it's been great, honestly. We both do a lot of like self-improvement stuff on our off time, so I think that helps out. We're both very honest with each other. Um, and yeah, we don't really let each other get away with bullshit.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So anyway,
No, I think that's fantastic, and it's funny because when I talk with people who run a business with their spouse, it's either they're like, "Oh my god, I could tell you some stories," or it's something that is a very good, solid relationship. And I think what I hear from most people, and you just demonstrated it as well, is it's very, very important to have those specific roles. And when you have the specific roles, you know who defers to whom on which topics. Because we're the same way. My husband runs all of the production. He runs the legal team. I do the sales and marketing. I do the finance. And it's a nice balance. But the first year we had the same thing where we were both all up in each other's business all the time and we hadn't divided those clear roles out. We were trying to help each other. And I say that with air quotes because it wasn't helpful to be all in everything all the time together. But I think this is a great thing to think about too for even non-spouses but executive teams, having those very clear roles. Even though it may seem a little rigid, it is so incredibly helpful because then you can look and say, is this something that I am actually in charge of, or do I need to ask the person who's in charge of this to give me some guidance on this? And as long as it's well balanced, it works flawlessly, I think, or as
yeah,
close to flawlessly as it can.
yeah. Delegate, putting hats on people and saying, okay, you're responsible for all of this stuff. Okay, here's this division of the business. Everything underneath, everything in that you are responsible for until we hire someone underneath of you who then can be responsible for various tasks. Um, but putting people on, giving people production metrics, statistics, KPIs, whatever you want to call it, that is absolutely essential. Everybody has to have a KPI. And that is, they have to have a product. Okay, what is their role? What are they producing for the business? Is it a lead? Is it a qualified consultation? Is it a matter that's completed? Is it a step in a matter that's completed? Right? Revenue, all these things. So who's responsible for what? And by running it that way, you eliminate, everything's growth based, and it's kind of kind of has to be that way. And when you graph these statistics and monitor them on a weekly basis, and management, we look at it on like a trend, so either a 3 or 6 week trend. Um, okay, what are the numbers at? Are we going up or are we going down or are we staying the same?
You're keeping that
And
pulse weekly, correct? You're
yeah,
checking every week? Yeah.
yeah. We have a weekly staff meeting, all staff, everyone presents their graph, and daily, everyone meets daily, a very brief meeting to report their numbers, where they're at. Management is looking at, okay, is it on a Wednesday, for example? Okay, where were you at last week on Wednesday? Are you going to be up from last week? So we're doing that daily, and you get to Friday, and it's like, oh shit, numbers are down. Okay, save your ass Friday.
Let's
Let's go.
go.
Let's go. Right, get your shit up.
Yeah.
Um, but by doing this, you really see who's producing and who isn't, right? You mentioned that first law firm you were in. It's like, okay, this person's not producing, and
And everyone else
really,
can see it too.
yeah, yeah, everyone else sees it, and so when you don't get rid of someone like that, it's how what does that say to your other employees,
Yeah.
right? What does that say? It kind of communicates you don't care, or what are you doing to help this person to get their production up? And if you just let someone flounder around and be a low producer, you're telling the rest of your team that you don't give a shit. And I mean, some people could call it ruthless, but I don't think so. I mean, we're not a charity. Uh,
Well, not at all, and I think, like we were talking about earlier, how my first partner, and I say first, I will never have a partner again. I'm a own it all the way type of gal. It just makes decisions easier. But he was very focused on running it as a family, and I've seen so many people who they confuse nice and kind. They think that they're being nice by, or they're being kind. They think they're being kind, but they're just being nice by trying to, like, gently work with people, not come off too strong, not be too harsh, not set levels. They're trying to nurture people. That's what they tell themselves. But really what they're doing is they're pulling down the morale of the rest of the group. And this idea of having a family as opposed to a team doesn't make sense. True businesses don't operate that way. And when we look at it from the perspective you said, kind of being ruthless, I don't think there's a single person who follows sports ball. I don't really know sports, but any kind of sports ball, football, basketball, baseball, any of that. No person would look at a manager of a team and say, "Oh, they're doing such a good job for keeping that low performer on the team." No one would say that. Everyone understands in sports you have to have a very high achieving team in order for the team itself to reach a goal, or whatever the sports terms are. I'm not great with sports. But when we look at our law firms, people don't treat it the same way. They think, oh, you're being mean. Oh, you're being ruthless. But it's the exact same idea. And you're completely correct. When you don't deal with an underperformer, the rest of your team starts looking at, number one, why does that person get special treatment? Why do they get held to a lower standard than me? And it frustrates them. In my early years at the law firm, I cannot tell you every single time someone left the firm that was a low performer, I had other members of my team come up to me saying, "Thank you so much for dealing with that, for letting them go." And in the beginning, I had people saying, "Why didn't you let them go sooner?" Because they were tearing you down and you didn't even know it. And they were bringing us down and they were causing all this division. That's the other thing I learned with underperformers is, if you notice that they're underperforming, that's just what you're noticing. I guarantee you there's other things that they're doing that's even worse, that once they leave you're going to find all kinds of shit. And you're like, "Wow, what happened here? How did I miss this?" But yeah, you're right. And having those reports, lawyers I think often think that it has to be complicated, and they get that bright shiny object and they're like, "How do I create a dashboard?" It can be as easy as following a Google sheet and just tracking a trend. You can make a trend line using Google sheet data and just track it every week. And it's not, once you get it into a rhythm with your firm, it's not difficult to do. I think some people feel daunted by having to set it up, but you don't even have to go back and do the back data if you don't want to. You could just start this week, start tracking, and then in a month you're going to have a trend that you can look at.
yeah, yeah, definitely just start now, right? Don't worry about the past. If you have the past numbers, fine. There's a great software out there called Model Admin Know How. It's like MA. kh.org, something like that. It's all statistic reporting track software.
Mhm.
Super easy to use. You just create a graph, title it, and then you plug in the numbers either daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And yeah, that's what we use. Graphs come out super pretty, super nice, like real to the point. It's like $15 a month or some shit like that. Yeah, I just don't know how without using KPIs, it's like you just don't know.
You're making emotional decisions. You
Right.
can't lead from a place of any type of actual logical decision making. You're just saying, "Well, I think this person isn't doing a good job," or "They looked at me funny this morning." Like you can't you can't make any rational decisions. And when you're operating purely from gut, and I say instinct, but it's not, there's no way that you can build a scalable, successful business that way. You can white knuckle it for quite some time. I've seen people reach millions of dollars running on nothing really. But at a certain point, you reach a breaking point. If not in the firm, in you as a person, you cannot manage all of that and keep it all in your head. And I think a lot of people don't think about or even realize the physical toll that all of the psychological stress of trying to keep track of everything in your head actually does to you, how it impacts everything, your sleep, your diet, even just at a resting state. If you don't have things put, and I speak from experience because I was resistant to putting, I was like, this is so monotonous, I'm bored. But it's so helpful. Once it's out of your head, it's there, you can access it, and then you can actually let your brain rest, and you feel better just as a human being having it somewhere else documented, so you're not just having to try to remember everything. Same thing for case management. Law firms that don't have a case management system and they don't work off of scheduled activities, I don't understand how they survive as a human being with all of that just stuck in their head all the time.
Well, you're either going to stay if you're not using software, good software as well. You're either not going to grow um, and be able to essentially do the work because there's just not that much work to do, um, or you're gonna have a high workload and things are going to fall through the cracks,
Yep.
or you're going to do a shitty job. You're going to get bad reviews,
And
all of
this
that
applies
stuff.
even to solos. Because if you
Totally.
think about it, my philosophy is if you are a solo practitioner or a small law firm and you don't have a practice management system in place, you are ethically walking a very fine line. Because if you, my examples always get hit by a bus, it's kind of morbid, but if you get hit by a bus, not even die, you're just in a coma in the hospital. No one can step in and support your clients. You're leaving your clients high and dry with nothing, no record of anything that's been done. Even if you have a backup attorney who comes in, they have no idea what's going on. And you have just completely screwed however many clients you have. Even if you're a solo, you have to have that in place because I think you owe an ethical duty to your clients to, actually lawyer the right way, protect their information, do a good job on their case. And it's impossible if it's all in your head because you never know what's going to happen. And I'm not saying that to be like a morbid person. It's just you have to think about what you're doing to other people as well and the lives that you hold. Even if you represent businesses could completely collapse if you just keep all the information in your head and then you're hit by a bus and then they're stranded.
Yeah. Yeah. What software do you use?
So we went a little extreme in our law firm. I didn't like any of the softwares that were out on the market. I think we started building this in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Everything would do a little bit of what I wanted, but not quite. So we retrofitted Pipedrive, and then we rely heavily on Zapier and Airtable to feed in information. So all of our graphs and charts are in Airtable. All of our case reporting, and we Pipedrive, as you know, is a business CRM, but we've retrofitted it to be a case management software as well. And we
I have not
operate
heard
very heavily on forms.
I've not heard of Pipedrive.
It's not even a
You
legal
see-
software. It's just a business
Yeah,
software.
yeah. We use Zoho. Have you heard of Zoho?
Yes, that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. We started. It was the same for us. The main thing I wanted was, with my sales background, I know what is required for follow up. Like most, very small percentage of people close on the first consult, and the more times you touch them and reach out and ask them to start, the higher that percentage goes up. So we had, our system. My ideal system was, we call them the day after the consult, the day after, 2 days after, 5 days after, 7 days after, 10 days after, 15 days after, 20 days after, 25 days after, and then monthly forever, or
Yes.
until they
Until
tell us
you
to
get an
stop.
answer. That's what
Huh?
sales is, until you get an answer. Doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
answer is, just get an answer.
Yeah, exactly. Call them up and just ask them to start. Hey, I can take a check or a credit card right now.
Yeah,
Get you going.
let's do it.
Um, yeah. But Salesforce, we had that for a year, and we paid some guy like 20 grand to build it out for us. He did a terrible job, right? It was super expensive. I was like, oh, it sucked. I was so
Yeah.
pissed. So we were stuck with that for a year. And then I was searching around for software that has that capability to auto generate those calls, because we were keeping a spreadsheet. So it was like someone would book a consultation, we put them in a spreadsheet, and then it
Oh,
would auto populate. It would auto populate all the dates that they need to be called, and it was god awful.
but you know what? It worked. That's the thing. You had a system. Even if it was god awful, it's better than 99% of the law firms
Right,
out there that have nothing.
right, right. And so then I went searching. I was like, God, there's got to be something out there. None of the law firm softwares do anything like this. None of it. And I found Zoho. And so I found a developer. I said, hey, this is the feature I'm looking for. I don't really care about much anything else, but this is it. And then he was like, yep, we can do it. No problem. And then we just started going and going and going. And everything now runs through Zoho, except for we use Wealth Counsel for drafting. So that's about it. But everything else is connected through the one of the Zoho apps. And yeah, having all of it in the same ecosystem has just been phenomenal, phenomenal. And it's like any new feature, like an employee will come to me, hey, it would be really nice if we could do this. I message the developer, hey, can we do this? Yeah, sure. This is how we would do it. Blah blah blah. All right, implement it. So yeah, it is. It has been very expensive to get it built out, but our revenue, we grew by 88% last year, and we're on track for like 45% this year. So it has absolutely had a tremendous impact on, yeah, on the numbers.
Yeah.
The return on investment has definitely been worth it.
That's people are always shocked when they hear, so our management team, we keep it small and insulated, but one of the key figures on our management team is our CTO. We have someone whose only job is to run all of the systems and tech in our firm. And he is arguably the most valuable member of our team. I mean, we need lawyers to do the legal work, but he's the one that makes it all run, and we pay him very well to keep everything going and running smoothly. And law firm owners have asked me in the past, they're like, why on earth would you pay a non-lawyer in a management team position? No offense. And they were like, why wouldn't you? Like, this guy's an expert at what he does. He builds everything out, and our lawyers, all they have to do is just they can type it if they want, or they could just do talk to text, dump a note after court, and then they're done. Everything else works for them. It's just so much easier. And people, I think, like I said earlier, I think that the legal arena has been about 20 years behind, but all of these companies work the way that they do and they grow the way that they do based on systems, based on technology. There's no reason for lawyers to not join in on that. It just makes life
Hmm.
easier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have this Zoho developer. We pay him very well, but we're probably getting to the point where we probably need someone in house to do what he's doing, as well as some other tech stuff for sure. Um, yeah, you just made me think of that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Add another.
Yeah, add another expense on there. It'll make your life better, right?
No, it would probably be less of an expense, honestly. I think so. Um,
Well, one
but
thing
yeah, it's
about
fun.
having someone in-house that's so nice is our CTO sits in all of our meetings, every meeting that we have, so that he can hear the problems that people are having. And people don't realize, hey, that can be fixed by technology. But he'll be sitting there, and often he's working in the background too, but he's just got his ear tuned in. And anytime someone says something where he's like, why haven't you brought this up to me before? I can fix that for you and solve this problem in your life. And then it gets fixed without anybody having to reach out. I think that that's invaluable because yes, a developer can do things when you say, "Hey, this is a problem I need to solve." But having someone there saying, "Oh, that's a problem we can easily fix. Why are you struggling through this?" And then they take care of it right there. It's so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, so you went into this really without any business, sales, marketing experience. So what were you doing? What did you do to get trained up on it?
I think that when you love something, it doesn't feel like work, right? I think that
Yep.
I just fell in love with business operations. I made it my mission, and I didn't even do it consciously. I spent every free minute learning. I spent every free minute listening to podcasts on running businesses, listening to lawyer podcasts specifically about business ownership. I listened to books on Audible all the time about all the classics, right? And then I would also read them. So what I would do in the early years, now I was single. I mean, I was dating someone, but I lived alone. I had my dog, so I had the time and space to do it. It would take a little bit more time with all the obligations that I have now in life. But every morning when I got up, the first thing I do is I'm looking at, okay, what can I turn on while I'm making coffee? What can I listen to while I'm showering? What can I do to make all of this time useful? And I just kept absorbing information. And then at night, I don't like to listen to things at night, and I don't have a TV in the bedroom. I never will. I need to calm my brain down, but I would calm it down with business books. Or if I needed to feel a little sleepier, I would do some type of philosophy to get my mindset right before bed. And I would just do that over and over and over. When you drive to court, you turn on a podcast or a book. When you go anywhere, you always have that. I would even got to the point I would walk around doing my grocery shopping with my headset on, listening to things and always absorbing it. Because what you surround yourself with is what you're going to focus on. And then when I started doing that, and I did that for years, I would come up with ideas. Like I said, I like to look at other industries to see what they're doing. So I would listen to, I love Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness, and like listening to all these different examples of people trying different things. And then I would be able to say, oh, this is something I've never seen done. And I don't know how many people in Colorado Springs are going to hear this, but because of that, our law firm has been the leader in criminal defense in Colorado Springs and now throughout Colorado. And it's gotten to the point now where I every time I roll something out new, we start taking bets in the firm about how long it's going to be for every other law firm to start doing what we're doing, even down to like what our website looks like and the things we offer and what we call our team members. But I think that it's because I was willing to take that time and learn, and I enjoyed it. And that's why I ended up launching the success company, because that's what I like to do more than practicing law. And I've got people who can practice law for me so I can help other people. I can use all that knowledge and actually help them level up 10, 20 years in advance without having to do all the research and listen to all the podcasts themselves. But I think a super easy way for people to start is to just find something that they'll listen to. And I like finding especially Audible books because you can put it on a little bit of a faster speed and listen
Yeah.
more quickly. But I like finding people who are funny. Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, every single book he has is phenomenal, and he narrates them himself. I listen to those so many times. That's the other thing. I would listen to something over and over and over because you always hear something different. And same with reading, you always find something different.
Yeah. I read Profit First at a gymnastics competition our daughter was in.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's an easy read, but it's
great.
amazing.
Amazing. Amazing. Everyone needs to do it.
Yep.
Uh, um, what kind of marketing? Well, what have you done before we get into that? What do you guys do to separate yourselves from the other criminal defense firms?
So I'm always looking for how can we disrupt the market? How can we change things up? Because I don't want, especially there's something oddly competitive going on with criminal defense in Colorado Springs specifically. So I'm always looking at how can I stand out? And you look at like PI lawyers, how every single PI lawyer has the exact same billboard and the exact same messaging. People are getting inundated with information and it's not hitting anymore because it's just like, oh my God, there's another lawyer. So I'm trying to find ways that we can reach people on a different level that actually provides a service to them. So when we were first launching, that was before local service ads or anything like that. I would put things out. I relied pretty heavily on Google for bringing leads in, but then I would go around to local places because I think that referrals still are much more important than people put enough credit credibility behind, I would go and I would do silly things. Like I would think, how could I make someone remember me? And because we do criminal defense and DUIs and people buy cars and they need new cars after they wreck their cars, I would go, like one thing I did, I went around to car dealerships in Colorado Springs on Pi Day. I'm a big fan of Pi Day. If you don't celebrate, it's always March 14th. But on Pi Day, I would go buy a whole bunch of pies from the local grocery store and I would stick my business cards in them. And I would just walk around to car dealerships and say, hey, happy Pi Day, and give them a Pi Day pie and say, I'm here if you need anything. And I got so many leads from that because people remember the pie person. Or for bail bondsmen, I would call them up, and I do this with other law firms too, bail bondsmen and law firms. You call up the staff. You don't call up the owner. You go to the staff and you say, "Hey, how's it going? My name's Alexis. I'm doing this thing." And then you say, "I would love to bring you by a little care package. What do you like? Do you like massages? Do you like wine? Do you like cheese?" And I ended up with a certain bail bondsman in town. They were huge into wine and cheese, and so I just brought this big basket of wine and cheese and then peppered my stuff in there, a couple pens, a couple notepads, and it worked. Like they sent all of their clients to us because they knew who we were and we showed that we cared about them. And that's what's I think so important in marketing is no one no one gives a shit what you do. No one gives a shit what your marketing looks like if you don't care about them. And if you're
Yeah.
coming at it from the perspective of gimme, 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 no one wants to give you a thing. But if you look at it as how can I serve this person? How can I help this person? What can I do for this person? And you mean it truly, it pays off in dividends. So for our clients, we would do things like I have a whole packet on here's what to ask other law firms because I know you're going to talk to other law firms. So let me just cut to the chase, give you all the things that you should be asking them, and you decide who you want. I also did a video where I was talking about how hiring a law firm is like dating. You've just got to find the right fit, and you go in and you ask these questions and you get to know each other. And if you have a weird gut reaction to them, that's totally fine. You can get up and leave the date. You don't have to stay, but it is that deeply personal because you're putting your life in this other person's hands. So you have to have that trust built in. So I just rambled for a long time, but there's lots of different things that we did. From a strategic perspective, I think looking at how you can serve someone, depending on who it is, and I think for referrals specifically, looking at who you know that knows your ideal client and then going and serving that person is going to be a lot more impactful than trying to reach the individual people. And then for marketing in general, I feel like I'm in a domestic violence relationship with Google. Like, I love when Google sends me things and gives me all these presents, and then it just yanks the rug out from under me the next day, and I never know what the algorithm's going to do. So I do market on Google. We did do local service ads for a while until we realized that it became a racket. But really, I think the big thing with marketing is diversifying, finding multiple channels, multiple avenues, and really doubling down on the branding once you get to that point. If you're not to the point where you can spend money in different places, I always suggest looking for the most efficient use of your money that's going to have the most impact on the person listening. And that's much easier to do these days with AI. You can create all kinds of things as long as you're actually putting your own content into it and just getting it to clean it up for you.
Right. Right. So yeah, I agree with the marketing aspect regarding hitting all these different angles. We spend 20% of our revenue goes to marketing, and
Is that 20% of your current revenue or 20% of your expected forecasted revenue?
current.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever money we get in the door. So
Okay.
yeah. Um, so 20% of that, and we calculate it on a weekly basis. Um, but we're generally, we spend a lot. We spend, I think our Google ads are between 65 and 75,000 a month.
Yeah.
And we send 60,000 postcards a month. Email, we hit our email list, which is, I think we have like 12 or 13,000 subscribed right now. We hit them up 4 times a week just with like content,
Well, for you,
posting.
you're having to build urgency too. For us, we're fortunate in that when people get a DUI, they need help right now. But
Yeah.
it's a very different marketing approach, I think, because you have to be out there and show people what you even do, why you matter, why your services matter, and then convince them, not in a pushy way, that hey, this is something that you need, and then dig into the reasons why they need it. It's a lot longer of a nurture.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where sales comes in, right? Like you got to be we got to be good at sales, right? Do you guys use non-attorney sales?
Yes, so that's actually in my consulting company, I teach sales for law firms where I tell them everything that I think most law firm companies are teaching is complete crap. It has nothing to do with how good of a lawyer you are. No one cares about how many cases you've won or how many clients you've helped. The only thing people care about is how you solve their problem and how they feel about the outcome. And I personally think that lawyers are terrible at sales because they can't get out of their own way. They can't
Terrible.
stop talking about themselves. So I don't know if you agree, but I have found that realtors, like recovering realtors, are excellent salespeople, and people in just service industry positions in general.
That's
They
what I
are
was
the
going to
best.
say. That's what I was going to say. Service industry. We've taken service industry people, bartenders, waitresses,
Coffee
and
shops.
yeah, yeah, and groom them, right? And now they're doing sales. Uh, yeah, one girl in particularly that we have with us, she joined with us in October of last year, and she just hit it out of the park. Has been amazing. Never had a sales job before, and is now pretty much our top producer. And she just bought a house. She's young. She's young too. Just bought a house and is making lots of money. And yeah, she's just doing. She couldn't be happier.
That's
And yeah,
fantastic.
it's great to see that. But yeah, absolutely. When we first started the law firm, um, I figured erroneously that I couldn't do the sales and that my wife was going to have to do them. So I trained the shit out of her. She hated she hated every minute of it. She said, "I didn't sign up to be a salesperson. I signed up to do legal work." I said, "Well," I remember telling her, "Then close the business and go work for a law firm. But if you're going to be a business owner, you need to know how to do sales." And she got pretty good at it. She got pretty good at it. She doesn't do any of it anymore. Select cases, like if they have
It
high net worth.
can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, but yeah, it's like if you don't like doing sales, you're generally not going to be good at it.
Well, and I
Right?
think that people have a common misconception about what sales actually is and what it means. So many
Mhm.
people think that sales is something you do to someone. They don't
Yeah,
understand it's something you do for someone. You're helping them achieve an outcome. You're helping them get a resolution. You're helping them solve a problem. And when you come at it from that place of service and helping, number one, there's no anxious getting energy. It doesn't take anything from you. You don't feel compelled to get if you're saying, how can I serve this person? How can I help this person? And the client is going to experience something different with someone selling in that way than they will at any other law firm, because so many law firms talk about how they do things, what they do, all this accolade about the lawyer and all that jazz, and no one cares. They only care, people are selfish, they only care about themselves, and that's completely fine when they're calling a law firm looking for help. But I think salespeople have gotten a bad rap because people think that they're pushy and obnoxious, and there are people like that. But true sales is a service first position. That's what you're doing.
absolutely, absolutely. And you take these people, these prospects have reached out to you because they need help. They they need help in a particular matter. And I've posted some like objection handlings in some of the Facebook groups, like, oh, if you get this objection, this money objection, or this time delay objection, say this. And it's met with mixed feelings. And I'll get responses, oh, that's amazing, thank you, and then other replies like, I could never say that. That sounds terrible. And of course, I guess when you read it, right, you read like a scripted response to an objection. It's like, yeah, it can sound a little funny. But when I think when you start to when you realize that a lot of times when people don't buy, it is because of their fear of making the wrong decision, right? They fear that going with you is not 100%. It's not. There might be a better option out there. There might be a lower price or a better service. And when you believe in your service and you believe in your product, that you know that, hey, if they sign up with you, they're going to get their problem solved, right? You're going to fix it for them. And when you recognize that these people don't buy because of this fear, right? You're doing them a disservice by not helping them overcome that, right? It's like, okay, I know someone signs up for an estate plan with us, they're going to get a fucking amazing, they're going to amazing service, they're going to get an amazing product. Okay, so then it's like, oh well, I got to think about it. Let me get back to you in a couple weeks or whatever. And if we just let it go at that, and then this person gets in an accident or something happens, well, they didn't get the service that they needed to solve their problem. And so by helping them to overcome their own objections, you are that's a service that you're providing right there. So yeah, it's not the legal documentation, so to speak, but that's a part of the business is helping the person to get what they need, and that includes overcoming their own mental obstacles to starting the service.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Including the obstacle of I don't have the money. Yes, you do.
right.
You
Yes, you
really
do.
care about something, you have the money. And people give me the weirdest looks when I say that. I'm like, okay, like the extreme example is always if someone has a gun to your kid's head and you have to come up with $1 million, are you going to do it? Yes, you're going to do it. You're going to come up with the money. But the other example that I use specifically with criminal defense firms is I tell them, look, if you have a heroin addict, you know that that person is always going to have heroin. It costs money. They have to do something to get that. So, what you really need to tap into on a sales call is their need, because if someone needs something enough, they will find a way to pay for it. If you have an addiction, you are going to feed that need. If you have a real problem, you're going to find a way to solve that problem. And if you have to find
Yeah,
money to hire a law firm to do that, you need to understand that this is a need. This is something that I actually want to do. And then you'll find the money. It's not that difficult. And people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, everyone has as much money as they possibly can. Everyone has the same amount of money because your money is in the hands of someone else. So you just got to find a way to get it. And you can get it at any time that you need it if you actually care enough to get it. And it's
yeah,
just, it's fascinating. And it took me a long time to realize that, because I heard people, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But I have seen people that, I mean, like people who are homeless come up with money because they understand the need for our services. And then we do a phenomenal job for them. And then they're set up in this position where they have a much better life. But just taking people at that surface gut reaction of, oh, well, that's too much compared to what? Like, what are you comparing this to? Is it too much to keep you out of prison for 10 years? Is it too much to make sure you can provide food for your kids? And, for estate planning, is it too much to make sure that your assets are actually taken care of and that the government doesn't take everything from you and give your kids to someone else? Like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love the heroin addict uh, analogy. It's like, okay, is a heroin addict more competent than you are? Right?
That's a
Is that what you're
great
saying?
question to ask. Yeah.
It's like, hey, this guy's getting dope every single day.
And
He's
it's
staying high all day
expensive.
long. It's expensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's spending several $100s a day getting dope without a job.
Yeah.
Without a job.
Yeah. If they can do
Yeah,
it, so can you. And that's the thing. People, I think, again, confusing nice with kind. They think that saying that kind of thing on a sales call is really rude or awful. But I think that in today's society, especially, people are so sick of fake crap. If you just come up to a call and you say, look, you told me you wanted help. This is me helping you. Do you actually want help? How serious are you about solving this problem? Because to me, it sounds like you're just price shopping because you think that's what you're supposed to do, but you really aren't serious at all. And that's fine. But I'm not going to sit here and keep talking to you if that's how you feel. If you actually are serious, like you told me, let's move forward. That's not rude. That's helping someone to see their own bullshit and move past it. But I think
yeah.
people feel like it's pushy. And I'm like, it's not pushy. And the thing is, too, you're never going to know if you're crossing the line until you cross it. You got to try. You got to find that line once, and once you find it, then you know it's there. But
And you can always fix it too.
yeah,
You
yeah.
cross the line, then you just fix it. Really, it's not hard. Um,
I have a terrible example. I don't know if this goes live, so like in places where it would be cut down, but I was so proud of one of my salespeople the other day. I've got to share this. So we had someone calling in, and we do criminal defense, and they were talking about the case, and I want to say it was a it was like a serious felony DUI or something. And we got through and they touched on the pain points and they were to the point and she knew that we could help them. And so she gave the price and the response was, "Well, that's just ridiculous. I should just go kill myself if that's what you guys are going to do." And she said, "No, no, no, don't do that. We have payment plans." It's like, that's a salesperson through and through. Solve the problem. We have payment plans. You don't have to kill yourself.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
That's funny. Yeah, I tell our sales team all the time, like, we're not selling yachts and exotic cars and $1,000,000 houses, right? It's like it's just not that much money, you
It's
know?
really not.
Yeah, it
And
really
especially
isn't.
for what you're doing, if your client has any kind of money at all above $60,000, it's such a huge return on investment for what they spend with you all. Like, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't make any sense why someone would push back on that, except for they don't understand what the service is actually solving, which means that the
Right.
salesperson hasn't gotten to the actual problem that they have.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with probate as well, right? Like, they're not even paying for it. It's coming out of the estate.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they gotta pay out up front. Like, okay, big deal. You're gonna get paid back, and then you're gonna get even more money because this is money that's not even yours,
Yeah.
money and assets, right? Yeah. So probate, it should be an absolute slam dunk easy sale, but it's not always the case.
I feel the same way with PI. I'm like, "Really? You can't close all the calls that you're doing free work on? Like, what are you doing here?"
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You grew up in Colorado?
No, I grew up around the Nashville area. I moved out to Colorado for law school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you just loved it and stayed?
Did there are not very many bugs out here. We have,
Oh,
like,
really?
roaches the size of houses in Nashville.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I loved the way that the air is lighter. When I go home and I step off a plane, I feel like I'm just drenched in a bowl of soup. It just sits on you. So, I
Yeah.
love the people. I loved the atmosphere, and I love the hiking and everything that we get to do out here. So, I stayed.
What's the elevation at?
So I live a little above 6,000 feet. Colorado Springs is higher than Denver. Denver is the mile high city, so it's right at that mile level. But
Yeah.
it's interesting when people come out to visit. I don't know if you're a drinker at all, but if you ever come out to Colorado Springs, you got to be prepared. You become a very cheap date because you could just,
Yeah.
it gets very dangerous for people that aren't aware.
Yeah, I've noticed that. We went to Denver once, went to Red Rocks and, yeah, and was a lightweight for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You also have to drink a lot more water. It's interesting.
Yes.
So for us, when we live at this elevation, we develop more red blood cells because there's less oxygen. So you have to have more red blood cells to be able to pull in more oxygen. But the problem is something about that when you go to sea level, you have to drink twice as much to feel anything. I mean, you don't have to drink it all, but it makes us the opposite of a cheap date. We become very expensive dates when we leave.
That's funny. Yeah, we lived out in California in the Monterey Bay Area for I was there from 2002 until 2019 when we moved to Florida and no bugs, no bugs. And we moved here and it was like
Florida,
first oh my God. First time we moved into our house, the first day in there, I was like, what the fuck? There's all these cockroaches around.
yeah,
What is
they're
this?
gigantic and they fly.
Yeah. My wife, she still can't handle it.
Yeah.
She still can't handle it. It's
Tell her to
it's a
come back out
nightmare.
to Denver and just hang out, bug
I
free.
know.
I can go
I know.
hiking and not get a single mosquito bite. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. We go out there and visit friends, and that we like the hot weather. We do
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. So Santa Cruz is not hot by any means, but bugless, the redwood trees, the mountains, the ocean. Oh, it's so pretty,
Yeah.
so pretty. I very very much miss that scenery.
Just
Yeah,
get a second vacation home. Hang
I
out there.
know.
Yeah.
I know. I know. Our daughter's like, she just spent 3 weeks out there visiting friends, and she's like, "We have to get a house out there." It's like, "Okay, okay."
Yeah.
But like a one-bedroom shack in that area is literally $900,000.
Yeah.
Like a piece of turd shack that needs to be remodeled on a 2,000 square foot lot, $900,000.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. You got kids?
I do. I have one little guy. His little pictures behind me. I put off having kids until much later. I look much younger than I am. Um and it's good.
How old were you when you had her?
uh just turned 37.
Okay. My
Yeah.
wife was 36 when she
Yeah.
had our daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting being the old mom. Like, oh, all these little young things looking at all these resources, and here I am, my knees are cracking when I pick up my kid.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's really good because with the way that we've structured the businesses, I sit at home with him all day. He's on a lot of my Zoom calls with my clients. He knows all about sales in law firms now because he's heard it so many times. He just
Yeah.
hangs out and he's got his little desk next to mine and plays, and yeah.
That's sweet. That's sweet. You gonna have more?
I would like to. I think it traumatized my husband quite a bit to have him. I had a lot of complications. But I grew up with a sister who's my very best friend, and I want to have a built-in best friend for him. I think I don't know. I just siblings are something you can't do without in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand. Our daughter's a single. That was my biggest regret. That's my biggest regret in life is not getting another one. Yeah.
Well, that's what the Goldens are for.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
enough to have like 4 children and 2 dogs.
Oh my God. Those
Yeah.
two. Well, Alexis, it was fantastic meeting you and talking with you. Yeah, I don't know. Well, tell us a little bit before we end off. Tell us a little bit about your consulting business.
Sure. So I help law firm owners build and grow their companies in a way that's customized to them. So that's why I do consulting, not coaching, because I think that when you're looking at different coaching programs, they try to fit you into this little box and say, do this. And I very much believe in building your own version of success, curating your own version of freedom. So that's what I do with for my clients. We step in, we say, okay, what does it actually look like for you to be successful? And then we build what needs to happen in order to achieve that success as quickly as possible. The other thing I'm really passionate about is law firm sales, like we've been talking about, because with the way that our businesses are structured, if you can't bring the clients in, you're not doing any good for anybody. And I just don't think that lawyers understand it can be so much easier. It does not have to be that difficult. So I get in there and I train their teams. I really like that I'm able to go through and listen to. I make everybody submit calls, so I listen to their calls and critique them live in front of everyone. We sign confidentiality agreements, so it's fine. But it's so helpful because you can hear how other people phrase things. You can get an idea of what works and what doesn't work for other people, and then you're able to very quickly improve your conversion rate in an ethical way. I have to say, I'm very proud. One of my girls that was in my it's a 4-month course. We're extending it to be a year now, but she was in the 4-month course. In her second month with us, she had a 100% conversion rate. So, and she's a non-native English speaker, non-US citizen, virtual employee. It's like
Wow.
it's not that difficult. You can do this. So those are my big things I love doing. I love helping people grow and scale, and I just like connecting people too. So if there's anybody that has anything that I can't do well, I'm gonna send them to someone who can, because it'll come back around eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you definitely know your shit. So,
Thanks.
and good job on doing that because you know definitely making a positive impact. We're doing the same, not the same stuff. We've created some online courses regarding like intake and sales and market, like why marketing doesn't work, and
Yeah.
things that you need to get in with your firm. But yeah, we're making a positive impact on the legal industry in general, and hopefully you're obviously making an impact and helping these guys out to grow their business, impact their own families, their employees' families, and in a positive way. So well done.
Thank you. You too. What you do is so needed. Law firms need to know how to actually make their intake work for them as opposed to just fighting against all these other systems and things that they've been taught they should have.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, perfect. Well, again, great meeting you. And if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks. Same to you. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, have a great day.
Thanks. You too, Joe.